Yes, hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us today to a new job series. Today we are talking about data science. And with me tonight, we do have two famous people from the company Protiviti. This is Annika Fock and Jacob Rempel. And welcome to this session today. For all of you who don't know what Role Model Rebels does, who we are a think tank that was established 18 months ago. And this is a think tank for women only. However, we are open for men joining us. But the think tank itself, membership is for women only. In the meantime, we have nearly 2,000 women from 40 plus countries. And we focus on masterclasses, also on coachings, but the focus is today on masterclasses. And I don't want to talk a lot, but as I already said, today it's about data science. And we all know data is the gold of the future. We know all that data-driven companies, they are on the driver's seat, and big data and artificial intelligence, everything with data, is we hear it on a daily business. And having said that, I again would like to welcome Annika and Jacob, and both Jacob and Annika, please introduce yourself. Annika, would you mind starting?
Sure, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you all for joining. My name is Annika. I'm based in Zurich. Jacob and I work for a company called Protiviti, as already mentioned. We're an international consulting company, and data science is one of the areas that we're focusing on, and it's very dear to our hearts. I'm originally born and raised in Estonia, but live in Switzerland since 15 years. My background is in the financial industry, worked at different banks, and now enjoy my role at consulting. And I'll pass it on to Jacob for his intro.
Hi, everybody. A pleasure to be here as well. As Annika already mentioned, I also work at Protiviti. I'm a data scientist and work for Protiviti for 2.5 years now. My background is a mix of engineering and business. And before joining Protiviti, I worked for a Swiss reinsurer and also for an asset manager in Switzerland. I'm also based in Zurich and moved to Switzerland around 5 years ago.
Yes, thank you very much, Annika and Jacob. And I know there are some people today joining us, they are really data science specialists, but some are not. And therefore, first off, what is data science? Jacob, would you mind to start answering this question?
So data is said to be the oil of the 21st century. And maybe what can you do with this oil, right? And a very short description of data science is that data science allows to extract business insights from data. So turning this oil into something. And in more detail, it combines math, statistics, including machine learning or artificial intelligence, and programming or computer science with specific subject matter expertise. So this can be different areas. This could be in e-commerce, this could be in pharma, this could be in the financial services. And then this combination of skills allows you to extract insights from the data.
And insights extracted can be for the good and can be for the bad. We all heard about it. I assume you work extracting data for the good. And there's a question, but I will ask this question at the end of this session when it comes to data extraction and, well, GDPR. However, I don't want to bore you with this question at this time. And we always hear a lot of names. It's data analytics and data science. And Annika, I would like to that you answer this question. And maybe if you can just like enrich data analytics and data science with some tangible examples.
Okay, well, let's start with the first one with the data analytics. What is it, and how can we imagine that being put to practice in the real world, so to say? Well, basically, data analytics involves around all kinds of processes and steps that are needed for a company or an organization to make sense of the available data and put it into practice. What does this mean? For example, a company could have a set of data and can try to use it to understand patterns in the past, to understand what are the trends, how is their business doing. This can also be summarized as descriptive analytics to say, okay, how has the business evolved over time? Then there's also another type of data. It could be, for example, looking into the future by learning from these kinds of trends in history, and based on mathematical aspects and calculations to kind of predict and say, where is our business going in the future? So maybe to have a concrete example from the financial industry, one could have a look at, for example, client transactions in the past and see what kind of patterns are there, maybe over time across all client groups, or if there are specific trends within a specific client group, and try to make sense of that. And the prediction for the future, for example, could be what is the probability that a client would do less or more transactions in the future with the products that the bank has, for example, or what is the probability that these clients would even switch to another competitor. So I would say things like that, making sense of how the business or organization is doing, is all about the analytics side. And of course, there are lots of roles and processes around it. I'm sure we can deep dive into that as well. And for the second part, for the science part, shall we maybe pass the ball over to Jakob?
Yes, we can do this, but Annika, I'm just like, when I'm listening to you, is it's basically you are summarizing data analytics as data over opinion. And because it's all based on facts and figures, and that I think is super interesting. And having said that, and before I pass on to Jakob, is everyone who is on this call, please feel free and write your questions in the chat. And also, if you do have a direct question to one of our guests tonight, please just raise your hand and we will try to make it an interactive discussion. Jakob, could you then tell us what is then the difference between data analytics and data science?
Yeah, sure. Happy to give an explanation. So data analysts and data scientists usually require similar skills, but data science is a bit more technical, while data analytics is more business oriented. So this means data scientists also leverage more algorithms, they use more statistical models, and also their own analysis to leverage or to generate insights. And this is especially the case if you look at raw data. So if you look, for example, at pictures, right? This is something that is a bit more advanced. You would maybe need some machine learning algorithms to understand and to classify pictures. The standard example is to differentiate between a cat and a dog, right? So you have a lot of pictures of cats and then a lot of pictures of dogs, and then just building an algorithm that can automatically detect this is a cat, this is a dog. So this is maybe a good example to give how different it is from data analytics, where you have more structured data, where you have numbers or tables, to something that is not structured anymore. And to apply another example, it is, for example, you have some production machine and you want to know when to replace a specific part of it, right? So you just have a video of it or a picture, and then an algorithm can detect, okay, now is the point where you should change this equipment, because otherwise the system will break down, right? And this can allow you to save a lot of cost, for example. And I would say, talking in examples, this describes the difference quite well.
Thank you very much, Jakob. And just like listening to that, because you have a scientific background, Annika, you don't have. Is this also the difference between data analytics and data science? So someone who is a data analytics, he is or she can then do this without a scientific background or a mathematic background, whereas a data scientist has to have a mathematical or an IT background?
So I would agree because of the skill set that is required. So in data science, you need at least some understanding of the models that you use. You need to understand a bit of statistics, a bit of math, also a bit of computer science to do the implementation of algorithms. And if you come from a more business-oriented background, the skills are not usually part of your skill set. So I would say this is a bit more technical. It's not only the science part, it's also like the technical hard skills that you need to really apply data science.
Yeah, meaning you both basically have to work together to come to a proper result, because the one can't work with the other, if I get it right, yeah?
Yes, exactly. And for example, the two of us, we really like to work in a team, and we see how much both aspects of working with data science really require a broad set of skills. So everybody coming from the business side really has to keep learning and speaking the language that the data scientists speak. So really understanding how does the data storage work? How do we extract data? How do we collect it? How do we analyze it? How do we bring it to the users? How do we make decisions based on it, etc., etc. So you have to have some education in math and statistics and economics and things like that to be able to keep up and understand and to steer the conversations right. But coming from the business side, you don't require that many engineering or really technical skills to tackle that. And also from the other side, the people with the scientific skill set and experience, we see that they more and more need to be able to speak the business language, explaining things in simple business process language, speaking to different kinds of stakeholder groups, being very collaborative on site, etc. So all these kind of soft and hard skills, they blend into each other, and both sides of this coin have to keep up with the time, I would say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Annika. It basically is in line with what we heard from other jobs. Today, nowadays, you can't perform by yourself by being a scientist or by being a communicator. However, what I think is important, because we hear so much about, yeah, we do this, we do that, etc., etc. Jacob, can you tell us what are the three main uses of data science? Can you tell us where you really see the main uses of data?
So, yeah, I think there are not really like three main use cases, because data science is used across industries and areas. And so it's really difficult to really identify the three main use cases. But I can share a few successful use cases that you see probably every day. One is social media. So what is used is based on the data that social media companies collect of their customers and users. They can offer targeted advertising. So this means they know what kind of things you're interested in, and then they will specify and customize the advertising in a way that fits you well and that resonates well with you. Then recommendation systems is a good use case of data science. This is used a lot in e-commerce. So based on the things that you bought, the system will suggest other products, and you will most probably buy them because based on your user profile, this is what you would do. Same for streaming, right? So there are different streaming companies that also can do recommendations that actually work quite well, again, based on your user profile. Other things are in manufacturing. So as I already explained, for example, predicting that production equipment will fail based on pictures of it or a video of it. And especially in the space of computer vision and speech recognition, data science and machine learning led to dramatically improve performance. This means, for example, everything around translating to different languages. This is done very well currently with the power of machine learning, and also recognizing things that you have a picture of. That is not only limited to distinguishing between cats and dogs, but this is like the famous example.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob. I think this is what we all know. You know, you surf the internet and you buy something, and then you have these other people also bought the blue shoes, or the blue, you just ordered a blue handbag or so. However, I'm interested in, you know, Annika, in the beginning, we also talked about leveraging data. So you have the data that are collected, data science, and also data analysis. And then what do you do with this data? How, and can you give us some examples how companies leverage data?
Sure. There's so many different examples and use cases about for this question. But for example, what we see a lot with different companies across different industries is that the maturity is very different, and the state of working with data is very different across the companies. So maybe two examples to illustrate that. If we take a young company that is maybe 1 or 2 years old, or maybe a little bit older, they're kind of already designed and born for working with data. And the way they leverage and work with it is already based on very modern tools, and they have a very good connectivity between the systems that allow them to start working with data and really running their processes based on data and taking decisions based on data. Whereas in the second example, a company that is maybe already 20, 30, 40 years in the market, they have evolved and developed themselves over time. For them, it is much more difficult, I would say, on the one hand side, to start working with data, because they may have data already in-house in their data sets, but they have to be prepared to start working with it. So they need to check, do we have the use cases? What do we want to solve or learn from data? Do they have it easily available for their teams to work on, to work with? Do they have the skills already in place to make sense of it, to analyze it? How are they going to share data with each other? How are they going to display it to their teams, for example, working directly with clients, or to the management as an aggregation, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so many things that a company should do before they can really work efficiently with data, I would say. And from there, it will then depend on what do they want to do. Do they want to improve their client experience, come up with some innovative solutions? Do they want to become more efficient? Do they want to save costs? It really depends on how far would they like to go with working with data. I think you're muted, Petra. I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Yes, you're right. I was muted. Thank you very much. If I listen to you, it's like, you know, if the company is already established for some 30, 40 years or so, then you really need to have someone with understanding about the importance of data to get the whole process started. And what I want to know from you is like, what does your day-to-day job look like? What are you doing? What are you doing? You come and then you're sitting in front of an Excel sheet. And Jacob as well. Are you sitting, you're running some algorithm, you're sitting about of numbers? What are you doing? What are you actually doing? Do you have to convince? Do you talk to people? Do you do convincing stuff about the sexiness of data science? Or what is your job? What does your job look like?
Okay, maybe I start from my perspective, and Jacob will enhance the examples from his perspective. What I really do on a daily basis, and what I really enjoy doing, is talking to different kinds of teams, and talking to people in different maturity states at working with data. So in the two examples I brought up previously, for the company that is already very tech savvy and already knows how to organize their data, how to keep it clean, and how to make sense of it, There we can deep dive and look at what kind of processes or dashboards could we build to, for example, spot new opportunities in the market, to see any relevant movements in client behavior, etc. There we can already do some advanced topics and projects. And for those companies or teams who are just getting started, there it's also really interesting to look at what kind of data do they already have, what kind of data they could connect to coming from other teams and other departments, what is already happening in their organization, how can we leverage and work on it together. And there it's really remarkable to see how even what seems like a small step, for example, connecting two data sets from two different divisions, how that already brings in efficiency and changes the way people work and makes everything faster and more transparent. That's really remarkable. So my day-to-day job is really to talk to people, to understand how do they work, where they could use data analytics, and how to find new use cases for that. And when we have a rough understanding of these next steps, or we're trying to figure it out, then we also speak to Jakob from the science perspective. And maybe you'd like to elaborate on what is your day-to-day work look like.
We're happy to explain as well. So basically, it's not often people don't really know that they need data science or they need to work with data. They kind of have an understanding that they say something like, yeah, we have so much data and we would like to use it. Most of the time it's useless data because the quality is really bad. And then it's a lot about communication. So you want to understand what is the problem the client actually has, because they don't necessarily know how to solve it, right? They might expect this could be solved with data, but then again, they might not know what data exactly to take. So it's a lot about finding out what is the problem, breaking it down to really what is the cause of this problem, and then trying to find data to support the solution to the problem. And this is involves a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, and then slowly you start to build like a prototype, a small solution, and show it to the client. And this client then looks at it, and you again have a lot of discussions. You both understand better what's the problem and how to build a solution that suits the expectations and requirements. So I would say that this communication part is very important, but also building the solution on the way in small steps and further improving it is very important.
Sorry, now, thank you very much, Jakob. I think we have some questions from the audience, and I think we should encourage them to ask the question. It's basically Diana and also Thana, I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. And it's basically about, especially I would say, Annika, is a question for you, what do you have to do to make a career in data as a data analyst? Or Tana, I don't know whether that this is correctly pronounced. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Petra. My name Tana, you pronounce my name correctly. Actually, my question to Annika and Jakob is that actually everyone, they really wish to have they want to change the career, like for example, from risk and audit background to the data science. So I would like to seek for your suggestion is that if someone they are now in in product development background or risk background and audit background, if they want to change their career to the data science or the data analysis, what is the basic step for them, or the program, or do you think that the beginner should follow this step in order to reach the career, the data science and the data analysis? Yeah, this is my question.
Thank you, Tana. That's a very good question. I think all the areas you mentioned are very relevant in the context of data analytics and data science, and I think it is possible, and it's very valuable to continue this data science path. For example, you mentioned risk management and these kinds of areas. We see a lot of use cases in risk management as well. So I think if you combine your previous experience in these areas and keep on learning about how can data be used, then it can be very powerful as a combination. And maybe to make it a little bit more concrete, it's definitely valuable to have a look at what could you put into practice already now in your current role. For example, is there something that you could learn and start doing about how the way that data is extracted or collected, or maybe even visualized? They're really interesting and fun tools that can be learned, and maybe by using that you will get some experience and know which area would you like to deep dive more into. I think that it's not possible to learn everything in one go. I think if you link it closely to your current activity, then it will be very powerful for your next career step.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annika, for the answer. Tana, is that okay with you?
Yes, I am okay,
Okay.
and I can get her answer. Yes, thank you.
Super. We have some more questions going into this direction, but I would suggest that we ask them, have this question asked by the end of this session, because I would like to ask Annika and Jacob some more questions, because I think it's, you see how interesting it is working with data. I already feel it at the moment. And, you know, I remember we, for example, Andrea and I, who were running these master classes, we also look into data. We also see what is working, what is not working. And it's basically working on the data we get rather than on our opinion. This is why I said data over opinion, which is really, it's really interesting. Annika and Jacob, both, maybe in a nutshell, what is your favorite aspect of your job?
So, yeah, happy to go first. I think the impact that solutions have on efforts, right? So often before you come in, people either do the analysis manually, or they don't do it at all, right? So they take decisions based on their gut feeling, or I don't know how else. But when you come in and use data and use data science approaches, this makes things a lot easier, right? To just not having somebody putting things into Excel, moving it around and doing calculations, doing a lot of explanation, just having a process to take care of it in a very structured way and allowing for a better decision making. Then this is always a very nice wow effect of clients, that when they see it, this is possible, and this is not rocket science eventually, right? So it's possible to do it with small steps, and also with small use cases having a big impact.
I can totally agree to that. It's also very nice to see when we come to the end phase of any project, and we do the continuity and the handover, because as consultants we need to also leave the company at some point, and the moment that we see that the team is really using the tools that we built together, and how they've changed the way they work and base their decision making and their processes and their daily operations on for example, on a dashboard that we've built. That's really a very nice moment to see how something really tangible comes to life. That's definitely a nice moment in our work. And what I also like a lot about working with data analytics is that it combines many aspects of work that I really like. So although we're working with data, it's all about people. How do people work in an efficient way, and how do they give something valuable to their customers, to their clients? And combining that people aspect with the mathematical, scientific aspect is really fun. And while we do it, also thinking about the client experience. So maybe the users of a, for example, dashboard are not the end clients of a company, but maybe a team working in finance or a team working in client support. At the end of the day, they're the users and they're the clients of a solution that we're building. And it also has to be user-friendly, it has to look nice, it has to be very easy to use. And that's where we can also be creative and create something that is nice to use. So I like how it combines different aspects, and it's always very, very versatile. It's never the same.
Yeah, thank you very much, Annika. And I think really the question Katja just is asking, Katja has a biomedical background, and she works in one of the scientific institutions here in Switzerland, basically in Davos. And Katja, she's asking the question, she has a biomedical background, how much data pre-processing, data curation take up of your work? And if I listen to you, Annika, you also have a big part in the communication with the clients, but how much maybe, how much you can answer this question, how much data pre-processing and data curation take up of your work, your daily work?
Yes, we see that a lot, especially on Jakob's side. Maybe he would like to elaborate on that. This is really, really important in any project that we set up.
Yeah. So it really depends again on the maturity of the client, right? There are most certainly people or clients out there that already have some systems in place that take care of clean data, that take care of data quality. They have data dictionaries, so they know, okay, when we look for this, we go into this system, we take it, it's clean, it's good. But there are also other companies that might not be that mature in this data area, and then it can take quite some time to do data cleaning, to align data from different systems, and to combine them in a way that adds value to it. So I would say this, within this implementation part, this can take up to maybe 80% of your time, because really creating the solution is then easy as soon as you have the right foundation, the right data, the right clean data, at the side.
Yeah. Okay, Katja, would you, you are mute. Katja, you are mute. You're still mute. Yeah, now it's good.
Thank you for your answer. I'm very relieved. It also takes up a lot of your time to bring the data in a shape that you can actually work with them properly. Following up on this, I had a question on your interaction with clients. How do you handle the situation that the client wants something from you, like a type of data analysis, where you actually, from your mathematical or biostatistics or statistical background, would say that's not really valid? Like, how do you handle this conflict? Do you say to the client, like, no, we don't do it, but he's the client or she's the client? So how do you handle this?
Maybe if I'll start and Jakob can also add his perspective. I think these kind of situations can happen, or in general, all kinds of difficult conversations can happen either before or during the project. And I think it's just part of it. So when we work on a use case, we try to figure out what is the real value that we want to see in the analysis, what is the appropriate data sets that can be used, what is the mathematical logic and calculations that can be done on it. And as soon as we're there with the client, then they really also value our opinion and want to hear these kind of reflections. And sometimes, of course, it's not easy to explain that something may not work or may not make sense in this way. But when we show options and elaborate on topics from different angles, then actually something even better comes out. So it's, as mentioned earlier, it's really about finding the balance and the right way of communicating and showing the client, maybe with some examples, what could make sense, maybe putting two analyses next to each other and explaining which one is meaningful, etc. Maybe these kind of aspects. Maybe Jakob wants to add something.
Yeah.
from his
So I
perspective.
would also agree. It's more if it's very specific, a very specific ask, and it's just not possible, then it's difficult to deliver, right? But often there is some space where you can give some options that might tackle the problem. Maybe the specific ask is not required to be delivered because you have some alternative solution to the problem. This is as long as there is a bit of space to have options and alternatives, I think this is never a really big problem so far for us.
Okay, thank you very much for answering this question, and listening to what you were saying is basically, again, you know, you can't survive as a data scientist without being able to communicate or to analyze or to talk to other people. So my question now, Jakob, you have a very IT and scientific background. What would you say in a day-to-day business? What are the top 3 skills you needed for being a successful data scientist? Not a nerd.
So yeah, I would say it's important to have some coding skills and also some statistical and mathematical skills just to understand the models and data science in general, and being able to implement things. This is something like the basic requirement that you need, right? But then we live in this very fast moving world. Things change very quick. So I would say the key skill is to have the ability to adapt very quick and learn things on the fly, to just adapt to new use cases, to new industries, because you can't be an expert in everything. I mean, you can be an expert in data science, but then whenever you apply it, it's always in the context of some specific topic. It's in a specific industry or area. So just learning these things on the fly is very important. And the second most, or the very most important part, is communication. So you have to be able to answer business questions and explain complex things to non-technical stakeholders. So it's not just building this fancy model, it's more about explaining why you should use it, what's the outcome, how it can help you, and just managing expectations and explaining what actually is required there.
Okay, thank you very much, Jakob. What I also understand is, of course, you have to communicate, you have to make someone who is not an expert understand what you are saying. So communication is obviously key. However, you can't be a data scientist without having a data and a scientific background. There are so many people who want to change or want to move into this because they, for example, they love mathematics or they love statistics. And there are so many university courses, and I'm not talking about the YouTube University. I'm talking about really serious institutions. What would you say, what would be a good path to, what would you what should you do to start if you want to move into this data scientist career without having studied it? Jakob.
So I think it really depends on the starting point. It's as you said, it's easier to transition from a technical background like math, engineering, computer science, and so on, because you already have like this technical background. And then it's more transitioning to focusing more on the data topics, focusing a bit on IT topics, and also just applying these things. This could be doing maybe a short course on data science where you get the basics. This should be not too difficult if you have the technical skills for it. And then it's really applying. This could be also applying it in private projects, applying the knowledge in data science challenges. There are a lot of platforms out there where you can just get some data set and participate in a data science challenge where you solve a use case with your knowledge and can even win something for it. And maybe the company that wants this problem to be solved even hires you, right? If you do a very, very well job. But it's more about just building this experience in applying data science as well. whenever you want to transition.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob and Annika, because you don't have a scientific background. So what have you done, or how would you encourage people to start there?
I would really encourage everyone to reflect on what is it that they really enjoy doing and what is it that they find interesting about working with data. For example, in my case, I was actually pretty young when I had my first experience with basic coding. I remember I was 12 when my brother showed me how to program HTML websites, and I remember there I was really excited and always went towards the visualization aspect. I was not so much into how to write the best code exactly, but I was excited about how can I visualize, how can I make it even nicer the next time I publish a new website. And from there, in the academic path, when I was studying economics, banking, and finance, we had lots of courses in statistics and math, and also there I was always fond of how does the data speak to us? What does it say? What do all these curves and patterns mean? And how can we put that into practice? So there was already like a theme shaping, which I can only recognize now looking back. And the moment in my career when I got to work with data visualization tools, maybe the three most famous one are Power BI and Tableau and ClickSense. And it really doesn't matter which one the company is using, but there you can visualize something and bring it to life. And for me, I noticed that this is the aspect that I like about data science. And I would like to encourage everyone to think about what is your angle. Are you fond of data number crunching, and you see ways how to automatize it, how to keep data clean? Or maybe you're interested in the regulatory aspect. How does the rules and regulations impact the way we work with data? All these legal aspects, etc. So we say data, but there's so much and so many roles that are linked to it. So I invite everyone to reflect on what is it that you enjoy doing, and how can that be put into practice when working with data.
Thank you very much, Annika. We have one question from Christine. Christine, would you also unmute yourself, and maybe we can see your face? Would be also great.
Sure. So, hi everyone. Thank you very much for your introduction and the practical experience about your experience in data science. Like, my question is mainly related to data science positions in Zurich, as you both are working there. So I would like to know, like, how easy it is to get a data science position in Switzerland in general, and if there is a high demand for the role, if someone already has like an experience in data science and is working with that role currently.
My immediate reaction is absolutely, there is a high demand. And I see so many companies looking into how can they onboard data analysts, data scientists into their teams. So that is the quick answer. Absolutely, there is a high demand. Maybe Jakob would like to elaborate on the maybe more technical aspects. What kind of skills are the ones that are the most kind of trending right now?
Yeah, so I would also agree. There is a high demand for data scientists in general, but it's also very competitive. So there are many people out there that are very skilled, but as well there are many jobs out there. So even if you're not the best skilled person for the job, right, you can still get the job because you have so many other jobs that skilled people apply to. So it's a bit both sides. You have a lot of it, right? You have a big offer of people and maybe even bigger demand for people. And regarding skills, I would say it's always good to be a bit more on the general side of things. So you have some coding skills, maybe some visualization skills, and communication skills, definitely, and some experience and use cases where you can show this are the projects I did before, this went well, this not so well. So you experience in general, work experience in this topic is very, very important.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob, and also Annika. And I think a lot of questions have already been answered. And I would just like ask you a question. You know, you see this very high demand on people who have a skill set, or that is data analytics or data science. Is like, do you think that all the automation and all the processes that you are doing, for example, you were mentioning banking and insurance, and Annika, do you think that automation will kill data science jobs?
No, I don't think so. I think we're still in the beginning of the whole journey. And the more that we can automate and prepare the data, the more interesting jobs will pop out and come up, because we will need more people who can put the data into practice, and we can really start playing around with the data and doing the predictions, etc., and focusing less on the data preparation. So I think there will be more jobs and different profiles in this area, and definitely not less. But that's my personal.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Annika. What I think is everyone who is still here on this masterclass or on this course, Annika and also Jacob, they will be both available to answering questions when it comes to maybe more specific. What we will be doing, we will be sending an email after this session, and you will also give you access to the emails of Annika and Jacob. And yeah, I think this is important for today. You can really get access there. And what we were also saying is like, there is a huge demand, and the company Protiviti, for example, is also looking on working with big projects where they need data scientists and data analysts. And yeah, having said that, my question though, is there any question left? Is there anyone keen to get access to these two experts, Annika and Jacob? So it doesn't look like this. And then if this is not the case, I would say thank you so much, Annika and Jacob, for giving us this insight. And what I see is, and that's my takeaway here, is like, whatever you do in nowadays, it's you have to have some general qualifications, and you can build up on these qualifications. And what I see is like, I think it's super interesting that you can combine so many people in project management and no longer stay with the boss who's running it all and doesn't listen to all the other people. So really have to work in these teams. And having said that, I would say thank you very much, Annika and Jacob, and to all the others who were listening today. Thank you very much also for your questions. You will receive an email from us. And having said that, I wish you all a wonderful evening. And yeah, thank you very, very much. And bye-bye.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.